the first thing I'll say is that the best marketing is extremely hard to measure in a dashboard. It doesn't mean it's impossible to measure it, but it's measuring it more by, the sentiment of your customers, your churn rate. And obviously you can measure churn rate, but it takes a long time to get to that metric, of whether you're lowering churn rate. And then, another metric that I really like is like, are we seeing sales come in faster? It's not necessarily that it's not always increasing the amount of sales, but bringing them in faster. So instead of having 18-month sales cycle, if you can cut that down to 6 months or 3 months, ultimately that means more revenue. It also means that you're able to work with a much smaller team, or your team's able to be much more efficient, because instead of trying to land this deal for 18 months, if they're landing it in 6, it's cutting off, tons of time and saving you costs that way. So that's one thing I like to look at when you're first starting with demand generation strategies. So let's just say, use the podcast as an example. Like if going the podcast route makes sense and you have the runway to do that, the first things that you look at for the first, 60 to 90 days are going to be engagement metrics. And so we're really looking for, what we would call message market fit. So, in the beginning, we're really just trying to test out, is our audience on the platform that we think that they're on? Is the messaging and the angle that we're taking, is it resonating with them? Is the type of content that we're getting in front of them resonating? Is it video? Is it video content? Are they downloading our podcasts? Are they finding us on? So like, what makes your company different, truly different? And being able to describe that in a way that we think will resonate. You do your customer interviews, you work on the messaging first, that's going to be on your website, that you're going to use in sales materials, and taking that angle. And then you test that through paid ads. So if you're testing that through paid ads, again, your first 90 days, you're really looking for, are people first engaging with it? Are they commenting? Are they sharing your content? And work on it until we actually get message market fit, until our message is resonating. Once it's resonating, then you move on, to other metrics that are more, get closer to pipeline. But if you try to look at pipeline or revenue in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you're going to be really disappointed. But that doesn't mean the campaign's not working or it's not going to be effective. It means that it takes time to build, again, your reputation. So then going back to the podcast, you'd be looking at some of those same metrics early on. Then you're moving on to kind of phase 2, which, things that we'd be looking for there are going to be like click-through rate. Are people starting to fill out high intent forms on your website? So like they're reaching out to your sales team on their own. They're choosing to do that. Or, are they going to the pricing page on your website and then filling out a form that says that they want to talk with somebody on your team? These things that are saying they're actually interested in buying, and they're filling out a form. So when you're like, once you have your message market fit, you're usually taking another like 90 days to 180 days, depending on your sales cycle, to start measuring some of those in between pieces. Are people starting to be interested in actually talking to your sales team? Are they mentioning your demand generation activities when they say how they heard about you? This is something that's really becoming common in the software space, is to have a how'd you hear about us form field, on your forms that's required. That is a open text field. So people have to fill it out that says how they heard about you. So if they start putting in there like, LinkedIn, or I've been listening to your podcast, or, I saw an ad with this type of messaging and it really resonated with me. If you start hearing those things, those are good kind of middle indicators. And then when you're getting into like your 9 to 12 month range, 18 months, depending on your sales cycle. So if you have like your typical sales cycle is 30 days, it's going to be shorter. You're going to be in that like 8 to 9 month range. But if your typical sales cycle is 18 months and you're expecting to see revenue in 9 months from your marketing campaign, that's silly, right? So, depending on your sales cycle, usually like 9 to 12 months, 9 to 18 months, that's when you're going to start really seeing that revenue impact. So I know I'm talking for a long time here, but to put a bow on it, your first 60 to 90 days, you're looking at message market fit. Once you nail that, your next 90 to 180 days, you're looking for early activity that's going to lead to pipeline. And your pipeline metrics might not be super strong in that window, but you're going to start to see indication that yes, people are engaging with this content, and then they're choosing to talk with people from our team. And then, that 9 to 12 months, that's when you're looking at like revenue, your pipeline and your revenue. And if you take that point of view, you're basically looking for those early indicators that are leading you towards sales. And in the long run, you should be measuring your marketing effectiveness off of whether it's generating revenue or not.